into this here. Cool.
Ready for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Escort the payload.
Okay.
Contact.
I will keep you healed.
I could use some assistance.
Right idea.
Take your medicine.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I'm probably like, does anyone on your team need help right now?
No, not at all.
You could reload here, which is what you choose to do, but is there any danger to you if you open this angle and go, hey, I'm going to take an offensive shot at that Sigma? Like, you know this Sigma's here, you know this Rein Shield can't reach to close the angle anymore. You have the ability to go like this. Like, it's possible if you open all the way here that the Hanzo will hit you or something like that, but it's pretty low probability, and you've pretty easily got a shot to be had here, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, so I'm not, like, super worried about it, but I also know that I don't really expect you to have to heal much. Your McCree just got 2 eliminations. Like, this is cleanup. We might as well speed things up. Sure, we can do that. Again, I actually really didn't want to be healing my Reinhardt from here. So here you are. If you opened your angle, like now, effectively, to take the shot on the Sigma, so be it. But now that my Reinhardt's going in, what's just happened? With how the fight has shifted, what's just happened? What should be screaming to you as Anna right now?
Just like supporting my Ryan and helping like kind of like the whole cleanup phase going. Because whenever a Ryan charges, I always feel like they're basically going into die
Sure.
unless it's like guaranteed.
Sure. Let me put this another way. This fight is happening in this direction now, right?
Oh, right.
This fight is happening in this direction. Great. So one thing that Anna thinks about is if you're back here healing Ryan, yeah, that's one thing. That's normal, whatever, okay? A little scary with the Hanzo, but that's fine. And we could live with that. But one thing we think about with Anna is, hey, can we creep up to an off angle to dump some ability power, to dump some offensive power to do something like that? And yeah, I could absolutely swing out here, or swing here, heal my Ryan. That would be fine. We'd probably be okay. And Hanzo's probably not going to shoot at us or anything. We're probably going to be pretty safe doing that. On the other hand, you can flip out here pretty easily, and A, you'll still be able to hit your Ryan, it turns out, but B, you've got pretty easy ability to drop a sleep dart, to take an offensive shot. No one's going to be defending against you, and you're not going to get hit by any Hanzo arrows or anything here, are you?
No, not at all.
Right. So I want you to think about opportunities to go, hey, this is still relevant for where the fight is going. This is actually safe from their backline, which is something that we're interested in, and it lets you sort of dump power into the fight, you know, more so than a sleep or a nade from back here does. But that's okay. You go like this. Sure. Unfortunate. Okay. Sure, they're shielding, sure. I can do that. I can throw an aid through there, that's fine. I'm kind of more interested in what's going on back here, though, right? Like, again, I can do this, I can interact with the front line, but I've also got a lot of ability to go, oh, let me shoot a shot back here, let me look for this. Like, I'm interested in, if they're going to give me easy, safe access to the side of the fight, is my front line in trouble at this point, even remotely?
No, not at all.
Right. So I look at this and go, okay, I can throw a nade in there. That nade's too shallow. I'd have much rather thrown my nade back here. But even if that nade wasn't too shallow, look at, again, it's this sense of where the fight is going that we sort of want to talk about. Of you can tell this team has to be retreating. Now your D.Va's boosting in. This team is definitely going to be retreating. Your D.Va's boosting them back. your fair's going forward, and we're sort of back here as opposed to having adjusted up to position here, up to position here, that sort of thing. So let's continue. Sure.
It's just a scratch. You'll be
They're feeding a
fine.
little, but so be it. Okay, sure. Definitely crosshair on the team, not your Rhine there.
I have your back.
Okay, what's to your left right now? Are there any enemies coming back through that way? Are we safe?
Not sure. Didn't check.
Okay. I hear it now.
Nope,
Okay.
certainly there.
And now we run into a situation where, wait, us and Reinhardt are both on the cart at the same time. And maybe that's not the end of the world because we were trying to triple stack the cart to really make the difference, to really cap it before someone showed up. But did it feel like we were in, did we think we were in danger of anyone showing up?
At this point, I thought it was just gonna be a free cap, like,
Mhm.
because I usually expect, enemies to be coming from the location where the Pharah is
Mhm.
on that right side.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it didn't
Sure.
like cross my mind that someone was gonna contest.
Sure. So as a general rule, Baby Diva we're not going to consider a tank, but as a general rule, if your frontline tank, if your Reinhardt is on the cart here, does it make sense for you to also be on the cart? Because your Reinhardt sort of sets where the fight is going to happen. Now, in one direction, the fight is going to happen right here. If your team was also controlling this direction, I'd have no problem with you pushing Cardin. And if everyone was up here, yeah, you'd just have to suck it up and push Cardin yourself. But if your Reinhardt is on cart, we've set up one front line here, and we've set our front line up against the other two lanes as on the cart, right? We didn't set anything up here. We didn't set anything up here. And even if we ignored this one, we didn't set anything up here. We only have something set up here, and this is not the only way back to point, right?
Right.
So, if we don't have any sort of front line or scouting or anything on the left lane there, and our Reinhardt is on cart, our front line really has become cart. That might seem weird, but our front line has become cart for 2 out of the 3 directions. Do we as Anna want to be on the cart if we don't have a front line in front of the cart? Like, it could be that our Reinhardt is pushing cart, it could be that we're pushing cart, but if we're pushing cart, it's because we have a front line in front of us and the battle's going to happen ahead of us, so there's, it's hard to get to us, right?
Right.
But it's not hard to get to you right now, is it?
Not at all.
Right. So if our Rhine caught up to us here and didn't then continue forward, we wanted to think about, well, do I need to stay here where I can see them? Do I need to stay here where I can see them? That's all. Not a big deal. We just had to think about where's the fight going to happen. And if it had happened, if the cart had capped, it's not like you'd have lost out on anything huge because the doors would take time to open, right? The cart's not immediately going to advance, so there's plenty of time to catch up as your team pushes ahead into second, right?
Right.
Okay.
This will help. I'm on
Sure.
the cart.
Rocket barrage
Sure.
incoming.
Moving out.
Has reached the checkpoint.
Watching your back.
Okay.
I actually got a quick question for you.
Shoot.
Would it have been like valid at all to say that like 3 on cart to just like push it and like cap in the final moment, kind of like before someone can contest? Would that ever be like a valid option, or like does it not really matter whether we have 2 or 3 on cart or
So
whatever?
I'm not saying it's never valid because sometimes it makes the difference. Sometimes that third person on cart really is the difference maker. It's actually not a very big difference maker in terms of the speed increase from 1 people to 2 people or 2 people to 3 people. 0 to 1 is huge, but the increase from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 is not that big. But yes, it absolutely would have been valid, and it could have been a, hey, we're close, so it's really important, so we're going to go ahead and 3 cart, etc. And I tried to make that clear at the beginning that it's not like, oh my god, this is a terrible idea. On the other hand, I'm going to go back here for just a second before it actually capped, just to show this. A little further. Cool. Here we are.
I have your back.
Okay, So it's not that it's invalid to go, hey, we're going to triple cart for a second, and we'd be complaining less if we'd had any sort of check over here. We'd definitely be playing a little further back on cart, because again, we're trying to just create any more distance whatsoever. But what you also run into is, how do I want to put this? How do I exactly want to explain this? Like, triple carting, yes, has validity, has a place. You can try to go, oh, we're going to try to force this. That's the best way to simplify this. Let me put it this way. Would you rather take a real team fight where they have to push through your chokes and do things like that, or put everything into sort of booping the guys and not letting them touch cart, that sort of thing, in a general sense? Would you rather create a situation where you take a defensive team fight where they're trickling back onto the cart? Or would you rather go, hey, I think we can stop them from touching cart. Let's all go forward and body block and try to boop them. And if we miss, oops, we used all of our positioning and everything to try to boop them and our cooldowns. And now the fight, rather than being something we have a defensive position in, is something that, is sort of even, sort of scrappy, etc.
I'd rather take the former there and not like have the opportunity to miss.
This is kind of the similar thing. Like, you look at this and go, hey, triple cap cart so that you get that little bit of speed so that you potentially do it. Yeah, that could make sense. That could be fine. If you made the decision of we're triple capping it because we really think we're going to make it, okay, I'll live with it. I probably wouldn't have distributed my people quite like this if this was the case, but even if that's not the case, which you're then looking, even if that is the case that you've made that decision, there's you know that that's what you're doing. You know that that's the decision, and you know you're trying to beat them in a race back. Does this look to you like you're trying to beat them in a race back? Like on this screen right now, it does, but does this look like you're trying to cap the cart before they touch? Like, oh, we're in a quick race and we need this touch right now?
No, it seemed like more we were trying to like kind of like engage with them before they can like contest, sort of like start the fight before they can even try to contest, sort of thing. That's what.
Well, but you do that even if you were trying to triple cart. Even if you were trying to triple cart, you'd have a forward screen probably that would try to let them not touch in a lot of situations. So that part's not weird. But the part that is weird is, again, you can't just be unaware of what's going on in other places. And if they're here, if they're like this, no. You can't validly go, we're going to try to triple cart while having no idea what's going on over here. You can't. Like, you can go, hey, we're going to triple cart because we have done our scouting, we know where the opponents are, or we really think we can beat them. You can't try to race them when you don't know where they are because you don't actually have any idea what you're racing against, right? Like, you don't have numbers showing up here. You don't have anything. That's where I'm trying to go here. And I apologize if I was a bit too roundabout in how I got there, but yes, tripling cart has a place. It's something that you can do. It's not something that you can do when it's the greater sin, I guess you'd say, though, to be like, hey, what, you have no idea that this is coming. And if you knew that this was coming, are you willing to risk being here for this fight? Like, let's pretend that you have this information. Let's pretend that you've done this scouting. Now, do you still want to triple push cart or no?
No, I'd just rather be ready for them to contest.
Right.
You know.
So it's really this sort of thing where if you're going to triple cart, you really have to kind of know that you're safe to do so, or you really believe that you're going to beat them, and you're just not giving yourself enough information to make that decision. Is where I'm going to leave this. But no, triple pushing cart is not strictly wrong. When you're going, hey, we're trying to beat a time, or even in general, triple carting wrong, but it's not that particularly valuable, and you would have for sure wanted to pull yourself back in this situation.
Watching your back.
I'm back in the fight.
هاخد بالي منك.
Okay. So you guys just want to fight? You just want to fight. You have a decision to make. Are you pushing cart? Is someone else pushing cart? What's happening here?
At first I was gonna be under the impression that I would have had to push cart, but
Okay.
then the pharmacy, they were just about ready to pull almost to where they were gonna be coming from spawn, so figured I'd have to push up with them. So at that time where I decided to, go help the Pharah, it was just like, guess I'm not pushing cart anymore. I'm gonna let the baby diva push the cart.
Okay. So you originally thought you were going to push cart and then you changed your mind. Okay. So if you change your mind, you need to be in a place where you're going to be useful. And this is a late decision to go push cart, to go not push cart. And because it's a late decision, our positioning is low ground. We didn't go, if we'd made the decision in time, we'd potentially be up over here, right? Where it would be, hey, I can heal my pharmacy, I can come over here for offensive shots, for nades, whatever. I can play from here if I need to. Like, we'd potentially be able to go, I can do this. Or even, from here. But we don't really want to play this from the low ground back here, do we?
No, not at all.
Okay. So if we're having questions about positioning and such, some of that is correctly understanding how the fight is going to go.
You're going to.
Okay. How is this fight now going to go? Your tanks are pushing the cart. Where is the fight going to happen?
Fight is probably going to be happening under this bridge choke with them on the high ground and us on the low ground probably.
Okay.
Because Ryan's on the low ground with me, and they're going to be coming from spawn from that room.
Where do you position to have influence over that fight if it's going to take place how you just discussed?
The high ground as well.
You could position from the high ground. If the opponents are going to have the high ground and your team is going to have the low ground, I don't know about that. There's no cover here. And can you really position here? Like, are you telling me that the enemy team is going to hold like here on the high ground?
Yeah, probably.
You're going to have to show me where you can position on the high ground if your team is going to push card on low ground.
I don't know, it's just like an awkward space under the bridge, because if they go under the bridge, I would have to go on the other side of this bridge in that left corner. But before then, I would have to be on the right corner where there's not as much cover.
What if you healed from here and then popped through here and threw a nade right here? Because this is where they're going to hold.
It's fair. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. I don't expect you to know everything, to think of every little spot, but there's no cover for you here, so you'd have to play from like here, and then you can't heal your team that's on the low ground, right?
Right, it would be pretty difficult.
So your other options are like, I'm just going to play from here, which, okay, you could potentially play from here. It would be pretty standard. You could try to play from something like here. That's potentially got some value, but is a little close if these guys go, hey, no, we don't like it. We're just going to drop and run you over type thing. You could try to rotate up here. That's probably the most interesting one we've seen so far, but you're a little spam outable. Like, it's a little too easy to shoot at you to force you to go behind cover, and then you can't heal your team. It's probably easier to play from here or here. So these look most like your standard spots right here, with this being sort of your interesting spot. You're pretty safe from the other team. Like, yes, they could drop and push, but if they drop to push you, you're still going to get out, and now you've caused the opponents to drop off the high ground, right?
Right.
Okay. So you see how we did that here? Like, yes, maybe you weren't going to come up with this spot. I don't care. I'd have been perfectly fine if you'd been here or here. Don't get me wrong. But the point is, we had to think about where the fight was likely to happen before we could think about where we needed to position, right?
Right.
And you had all the information you needed at this point in the game to predict where the fight was going to happen. So we're going to see what you do. Good.
Let's get you back in the fight.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
Is this where we want to stand?
No, I want to be behind the wall.
Right.
Some
Well,
sort of cover.
even here, if you'd been here, it would be like, yep, this is fine, whatever. But yeah, we did talk about the possibility of being here. But we're not going to be here because the cart isn't really our cover for this, right?
Right. It's not. It's not good enough cover.
Right. And if we let go, oh no, we're going to stack 6 people on cart. Well, we don't really want to do that because it's just too easy. If these guys drop and fight us, they're going to get you if you're on cart, and then your team is going to lose. Yeah. Whereas they're going to be able to leave their BAP behind on high ground to heal their team, so we're not going to be able to trade their heals back. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Cool. No problem.
Escorting the payload.
I'm under attack.
Go. I can be here.
Okay. So that just wasn't really a good place for us to be in general. Where we sort of look at this and go, oh yay, I'm here. We sort of got dragged into it by our Reinhardt being back there. Where could we go even at this point to make this situation a little bit better?
Probably like the right hand corner, like towards like the mega, maybe.
Yeah, it's really not amazing, but if we could find our way out here, that might help. If we could find our way over here, that could be a little better. We'd have the option to take cover. We'd have the option to deal this. Yes, there's a McCree here. Yes, that's a problem. And rotating across 2 here would be painful. But if we could get here, it's got some value. But yeah, this isn't like amazing where we are right now. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but we're obviously struggling to contribute. Okay, that's fine.
This is not your time.
Thank you.
The awkward res after the fight's done.
Mm-hmm. Hey, she's got to pad that stat.
It's gotta get that 6 reses in a single life achievement, huh?
There you go.
Why is the payload stopped? Watching your back.
Okay, where's this fight gonna happen?
Probably on the bridge.
Okay. So how do you contribute to a fight on the bridge?
Try to find my way towards the room with the mini, maybe.
What do we mean by the room with the mini?
Left side.
Like over here? This?
No, the one above. The one above.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were trying to heal bot your team as your team walked across on high ground to fight their team over here, that would be true. But if you stand here, you're going to take all the spam directed at your team, right? Any of it that gets past your team is going to hit you?
Right.
Whereas if you position more over here or more over here, you're not really going to have trouble healing your team, are you?
No, not really. If the fight's gonna be on the bridge, no.
Right, and I suppose if the fight drops and happens over here, you're in trouble. But if the opponents drop over here, your team can just not drop, right? Until you're allowed to go, okay, fine, let me rotate over to here. Like, your team's going to be relatively safe up on bridge, and they're going to have a... They shouldn't be in immediate danger of rotating out of your line of sight, right?
Right.
But you're now in a situation where their backline isn't really going to be able to shoot at you. Once the two teams engage, you'll pretty easily be able to hit a nade, a sleep, whatever, on the side of the opposing team without too much trouble. Pick out shots where you want if you see offensive shots, but you can close the angle like this pretty easily to heal your... I mean, you can heal your team, or you can close the angle to make it safer to heal your team, right?
No, right.
So we're sort of talking about the power of angles here and what we can do. And that's, something we want to think about because we look at this. Oh, it's not going high ground. Okay. That's fine. So we'd adjust. This probably isn't where we want to be now. But if they're going to retreat...
Onwards to victory.
Is there a nade here? Sure.
I wanted to do nano barrage so badly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's okay.
Go far down. Get in there.
and then we stacked ults. Yeah.
You did.
Go. I
You
keep
did.
you here.
Where's the next fight gonna happen?
Probably last contest on cart.
Okay. So you don't want to be on cart. Where do you want to be?
Probably like on the left side high ground maybe, so that way I'm not like in the enemy's line of sight when they come out of spawn.
You might be in lower line of sight, but I agree this is the right place to be. And you do have the option to hide, you know, behind the barrel there. So that works. You can heal your team. Perfect.
The payload has reached your checkpoint.
Enemy seen.
That was maybe hopeful.
A little bit.
Go.
Don't mind my aim
I
here.
keep you here.
Not a big deal. Okay. So looking at this,
Go. I keep you here.
I can live with this. Not a big deal.
I will keep you here.
Sure.
Healing in hand.
So ideally here, we probably didn't just stop and stand still and take this scope shot. We were probably either continuing to work our way up to cart, or we were tucking left to have this closer to us in case we did have return fire come our way so we could use it, but not a big deal. You just kind of planted in the middle of the ground here. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Help me.
Okay. What don't I like?
That I'm still on cart.
You could maybe push the cart this long, but you need to already be thinking about, you're maybe pushing the cart this long because you're thinking, hey, I'm third person on cart, I need to be here, and no one can touch up with no one can access the cart yet. No one can touch the cart, or no one can get on you yet. And that's potentially fine. So it was a little bit of a trick question. You're still okay for the moment, but are you going to be okay 2 seconds from now being on cart?
Probably not when they're coming out of spawn right now.
Right.
The fight's probably gonna happen just right in the middle of like this
Right.
lane, this middle lane, yeah.
And it would be different if, you know, your Reinhardt was up here perhaps, or up here perhaps, but that's not what's happening. Your Reinhardt is just holding the front of the cart, your Diva's holding the top of the cart, so you in a second or two are going to need to back off a little and go, okay, I guess I'm playing from here, or at the very least I'm playing at the back of the cart, and really we don't like that. Interesting.
Go. I keep you here.
Okay, you adjusted. Unfortunately, just slow there.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Okay. So, our Reinhardt is a coward and backed off. Given that our Reinhardt backed off, is this where we want to be?
Not at all, because he's gonna be backing up, and then I'm gonna be in the front.
Perfect. But what could we do from this positioning? Since our Reinhardt sort of left us, you know, backed off, and now we're stuck in this positioning, what could we do to take advantage of the fact that we're in this positioning?
Thinking like maybe you can get like a sleep on like the Reinhardt, maybe.
How? What do we do to create the conditions to make that happen?
Look for an off angle.
Look for an off angle is about 2/3 of it. The last piece of it would be, you know, tell your Reinhardt to push, like push, you know, I'll sleep or something along those lines. Because these guys either need to push in or your guys need to push in. You need something to happen to put a little bit of a credible threat into these guys while you take just a step over here to throw in your sleep, your nade, your something, right?
Right.
You want to open your off angle as pressure begins. You don't want to spend too long on it because you got to get back to healing your Reinhardt, because as pressure goes either way, your Reinhardt's going to need your attention. But yeah. Okay, and now it's just over.
Walk it off.
In front of our Diva, not behind. That's a bubble. Yeah. So once you went down 2 there, you really could have probably just reset left. Excuse me, not a big deal though.
Nano boost is ready to deploy. Get up. Get in there. With me, with it. You're going to be okay.
Secure the payload. Move it out.
Stand awfully close to this fight. So like this is happening. Yep, no problem.
You're going to be okay.
Okay. Team's pretty stable. This is the right idea. You pull back here. You pull back here. And now you're pushing back in. And maybe because it sort of looks like your Reinhardt's pushing up, but is your Reinhardt really pushing up here?
No, he's just on cart.
Right. So like we don't really want to get ourselves back into. We're in Ryan's swing range. We're in the place like Ryan's happy day is when he can swing into the other Ryan, or he gets to mess with the front line, and he gets a bunch of 200 HP squishies back here to hit as well, right? Like that's like, oh, he's happy, and he'll happily let the other Reinhardt swing into him in exchange for that. Yes.
Right.
And same thing with their Winston and all that stuff. So this is the sort of thing where we go, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna back out here a little bit more and do what I can to heal from here. If I have to close the angle, so be it. But I'm gonna do that. Maybe I back out to here, probably not. That's just too dangerous. I don't like having to rotate there now. So I'm gonna try to play from here. And this still isn't very far. If my Reinhardt does go for it, it's not gonna take me that long to get myself back here to be able to heal him. So that's what we'd be thinking. You instead are right in this front line where you get caught by nades, where you could get caught by fire strikes, where, you know, we got back in time for the Reinhardt swing.
You're going to live.
Again, that nade was behind our Reinhardt. We absolutely had room to put it in front of him.
I've seen worse. You're
Like-
going to live.
You know, even if it's just further to the right at his, you know, left shoe, so be it.
Walk it off.
Okay.
Get back in there.
Is your Diva really in danger of losing her mech?
No.
Okay.
Get
So
back
we're
in
not
the
going to use
fight.
this nade.
Get healed.
Enemy seen.
And just a quick question on that.
Sure.
I heard sometimes using like nade to like get like a tank like fully like HP so they can get back into the fight faster is like a thing. Like I heard like doing that with like balls, like maybe a thing because they like want to like go back into position quickly. But I'm not sure like in what situations is that like a thing.
It's not really a good enough. It's not really a good enough nade just to be like, hey, I'm nading so that my friend can get back into the fight faster, or, you know, my teammate can get back into the fight faster in most situations. It's got to be more of an efficiency grab than that. What it can be is you go, hey, people are low health and I'm nading, and this nade is going to, let's say that my Diva is down to 200 health and she's fighting in the front line, and I'm pretty sure I can save her, but I choose to nade her anyways for the increased heal effect to heal her back up while she's fighting to full faster, so I can pop off and take 2 shots at their Pharah, for example. That I could potentially get away with, but that's doing things a little bit differently. That's saying she's in the front line, she's fighting, I don't need the nade to get her back up, but it would take me, 6 shots instead of 3 shots to get her up, 4 shots to get her up, because I'm assuming continuing incoming damage here, and I'll be able to use those remaining 2 shots to go take some offensive shots that will put pressure on the Pharah that will reduce incoming damage, or put pressure on the soldier that will reduce incoming damage, or whatever the case may be, as well as if she starts taking more damage, well, that's fine. I can heal her. Like this nade is in effect on her. This increased healing received is in effect on her while she's fighting, right? Like I'm not nading her when
Get back in the fight.
if I nade her here, she's not really fighting anyone, and she's not like the nade only lasts 4 seconds. Is she going to be fighting people during these 4 seconds? Like maybe at the very end of them, but am I gonna like re-heal her during this nade? Am I gonna get maybe more credit than I'm expecting out of this nade for like more heals that get bonuses, or just this initial round of getting her back up to 600?
Just the initial round from this.
Right. So does it sort of make sense where I'm going with this? Where it's like, I don't want to use Nade. Nade is a big deal. Nade can get us purples. Purples have a fairly high probability of converting to eliminations, all things considered. Nades can be our self-heal, which, saves us from flankers, lets us recover, lets us stay back in the fight. Like, it's really not going to be enough to go, oh, now she can get back into the fight faster, especially when some of this is going to be tied to her booster cooldowns, her positioning. So generally the answer is no. Nading to get people back in the fight faster isn't going to be amazing. If you nade something like a ball between fights when you've truly won the fight and like it's over and you're going, I'm nading ball to heal him back up faster so he has more time to take position because I'm not going to need my nade because we just won the fight and they're not going to fight us for at least 10 more seconds, but I want him to have maximum time to take position. Sure, you could find niche situations like that, but generally speaking, I'm gonna nade so that people can get back into the fight faster. Not really gonna be worth. Okay.
Gotcha.
Get here.
Enemy seen.
So glad we naded that diva. Sorry.
Diva has a whole thing for suicide or the like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I will keep you here.
Onwards to victory. This is not the end.
اسمع كلام الأكبر منا. Go. I'll keep you here. My ultimate is ready. Get in there, and I will keep you.
Sure.
You're powered up.
Sure.
Get in there. Heal up.
miracle I survived that.
Yeah. Somehow.
Fire.
Yahi karam basta victory.
You look tired. Stop.
And after all that trouble lining up the sleeve.
You should leave.
So always how it goes. That's okay. Sometimes sleep is just a short stun, and we can live with that.
30 seconds remaining.
You're going to be okay. Get in here.
Okay, we're gonna stay. Good. You're swinging this wide open when there's a soldier attack visoring, and that's not the first time you've done that. That's a little weird.
Oh yeah, I tried to go for the sleep. It was so close.
I mean, you're reloaded. I don't know about this one. Okay.
I'm moving the payload.
And you opened it so wide. Like, again, I get that you want the sleep, but if you want the sleep, you go for the sleep from here. You stay here and you look for the sleep. Oh, there's nothing to be had. I'm not opening this angle further, because now you've opened this angle so wide that you don't have control over when you close the angle. You see this? Like, you're right here. You don't control when this angle is open or closed. Now he does, because he's closer to the thing that is currently the cover between you two. So he has greater control over whether the angle opens or closes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm moving the payload. still need me.
10 seconds remaining.
A decent chance that could have been the map right there.
My team still
But
needs
that's okay.
Overtime.
Onwards to victory. It's just a scratch. You'll be fine. You're still wasted on the young. You're powered up. Get in there.
Double kill.
This will help.
Payloads ready to roll.
Okay.
I was a bit worried there.
Sure. I'll deal. Yeah, they weren't gonna bother you. Okay, I'll deal. That's cool. Ultimately got it done. Let's go into the next round here, where I am expecting that I know what they play. Spend some time playing.
5, 4,
There we go.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Watching your back. Heal up.
Do you feel like you need this?
Not currently.
Okay.
Heal up. Take your medicine.
Okay.
Need healing.
Sure would have been nice to be able to self-nade here. There you go.
Keep going. Thank you.
Okay, and now over to the Pharaoh. Yep. Okay, and now we're gonna get an 8 in there.
Healing in hand.
Beautiful. Yeah, so you reopened the angle. So this is not terribly surprising, but you go like this. Sure. We've already a little bind to this fight because of when we didn't have our self-nade. You go for this, and you throw this. But if a rocket just came at you, so you're probably done, right? You got this nade in here, your Rhein's full health.
Healing
You
in
just
hand.
saw a rocket just went right by your face. Clearly Farah's paying attention to you. We need to close this angle. We can't just tunnel our Reinhardt. We have to value our own life. You see what's going on here?
Yeah.
Cool. So, oh, you just took a rocket. This one is super obvious you just took a rocket. You need to close the angle, which you start to do. But then you're immediately like, no, I want to go contribute more. Let me get a sleep in here. No, we've actually got to value our own life. And if we're paying attention, this fair actually came in, and we'd sure like to have our sleep dart to defend against her, because if she actually dives in, we want that. But regardless, we needed to continue to be over here. If we have awareness of what's going on, maybe we slide through here and do something. But even if we don't, this is one of those things where if this Pharah was a widow and she was playing from like right here and she just missed a shot on you, would you then immediately reopen the angle, or would you just wait a second or two before reopening the angle?
Oh, well, at the very least, I wouldn't immediately reopen it.
Right. And here you're just like, no respect, I'm gonna reopen it. I'm sorry, you don't have a mercy healing you or anything. You can't just do this. Yeah. Okay. Not a big deal. And that might feel bad, but like remember, if the Pharah's paying attention to you trying to spam you out, she's not getting it because you've closed the angle, or at least, closed the angle enough to then realize she's there and are fighting her, the incoming damage on your team has reduced significantly, right?
Right.
So it's not a big deal that you're not healing. Whereas if you go out to heal and get eliminated, well, okay, the incoming damage on your team has still not gone down. You're not really healing it because now you're eliminated quite quickly. But okay.
Thank you. Get me.
Sure. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. That was hopeful, but it was never gonna work. Like, this was hopeful, I get it. you just have to leave. Like, I totally get that you want to be like, no, I want to take her down, but there's a Mercy Beam attached to her, and I get that she's low health. You do not have your nade. If you don't have your nade, can you win this?
I honestly thought like
She was low enough health.
Yeah, like just like shot melee would have been enough because I
Okay.
saw her below half, but I didn't
Yep.
think Mercy healing her would have gotten her above that threshold in time. So
It's a fair
know,
amount.
I know.
Yeah, all good. All good. The problem that you run into is how much damage do you do with a shot?
I believe it's 60 or 70.
So you do 60 damage, and she heals 55 health per second. And do you know what your delay is on shots with Anna, between shots?
No, not quite. It's like a little bit below a second, isn't it?
I want to say
Something
it's like 0.8, maybe 0.7 seconds, somewhere in there. So yeah, something along those lines where if you do 60 damage and she heals 55 health per second, and yes, you're going to do your 60 damage then melee to get 90 damage, but she's healing 55 health per second and she's not going to miss heals or anything here. It's going to be really hard to win a race against her in any real fashion, right?
Right.
Like, you do more damage than she heals if you hit, then melee, then hit, then melee, things like that. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like she's going to lose that race very slowly unless we burst her down immediately past her health threshold. And unfortunately, no, she's not at that. She's already over 90 health. But that's fine. And, you know, by the time you get here, she's already over 100 health. But, yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Just underestimated Mercy's heals a bit there. Not a big deal.
My team still needs me.
Helden sterben nicht.
Onwards to victory.
Go. I'll keep you healed.
Enemy reviving.
Sure.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay.
Step rat.
Unfortunate.
It's
It's fine. Back to heals. Now look for fair again. Okay.
Healing enough. Get here.
Okay. So that's not really an issue. Like, what went wrong there is like, how do I want to put this? I mean, I think you probably see
I'm
you
not
missed a
ready
lot
to
of
hand
shots
up.
there, and you're never gonna get to swap off of healing your team for very long, right? So like, if you did this and this was correct, you're gonna heal your team, and then if you find a window, you're gonna look for a couple offensive shots and then hit or miss them, unless you get her within one shot of going down. By the time you get to a third or fourth shot, those probably have to be back on your team, and that's mostly how you played it, and that's correct. You just missed when you swapped over to shooting her, and that's life, not a big deal.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Yeah, we probably don't heal that because
Name.
even if she does res, even if she does live, that's really just staggering her more. Okay.
Group up.
Take your medicine.
Bad guy. I need a doctor.
Okay.
I will keep you healed. You're powered up. Get in there.
No. I mean, you know that that's not right. You're just frustrated that you guys haven't been able to push back in here. Like, this isn't like actually a real decision on your part. This is just frustration at the fact that you guys haven't been able to push in.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay.
وريهم قوتك. Your top
He actually turned his back. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that. No, he doesn't have no barrier. Okay, fine, fine. I'm wrong.
You're powered up. Get in there.
That's fine.
وريهم قوتك. You're going to be okay.
I think that nade just summed up my life story.
Ha! Okay. There we go. Where's the next fight gonna take place?
Probably on the bridge again. I
Okay.
mean, depends. They might go like the bridge, or they might go left. Depends.
Okay. Where should you be if the fight's gonna be on the bridge?
Still like the room by like the spawn over here. If I think it's
Yep.
gonna be bridge.
Yep. And if it's over here, are you gonna be doomed if it ends up being bridge? Or if it ends up being over there?
Entirely, like I can rotate towards the bridge if it ends up being left.
Okay.
But I've kind of like felt that Genji was gonna go in for Blade,
Okay.
and I felt
If the
bad because I nanoed.
If the okay. I mean, if the comms were that we were going to take a super aggressive fight, this is fine. You're pushing up because you know we're taking a super aggressive fight with Blade. Oh no. Oh. Sure.
I'm under attack.
I need a doctor.
Helden sterben nicht.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
Okay.
This will only hurt for a minute.
Sure. You have to decide if you're going to survive until he respawns it back, which you've decided you are.
You're going to.
Game says otherwise.
Yeah, we tried it.
Yep.
Hold
The
back.
payload has reached the checkpoint.
You're going to be okay. Watching your back.
Bad guys.
Nano boost is
Step
ready
right
to
up.
deploy.
I need a doctor.
Heal up.
I need a doctor.
Heal up. Rains from above. Taking damage.
Did it sleep for the Sigma? It was, okay.
Taking damage.
Yeah, I don't know at this point if I should have just kept it for barrage or just used it on
No,
the...
no, it was fine to try to go for the Sigma. You were trying to sleep the Sigma before the barrage started. You don't need to hold it for
Nano
like,
boost
oh,
is
well,
ready to deploy.
barrage may happen. Well, if Sigma doesn't get shut down, you guys are gonna have
I
trouble.
will keep you healed.
I need a doctor.
Heal up. Rains from
It's
above.
fine.
Taking damage.
Helden sterben nicht.
Okay, let's not stagger team.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I see what's gonna happen for the rest of this round. This is unfortunate, but so be it.
Yeah, should I have nanoed for the tire, or is that... I mean,
I mean,
don't know.
you could have potentially said, hey, You can potentially nano here just because you need more stall power. You're not sure you're going to make it, and you're like, hey, my Ryan can do something, but your Ryan is continuing his being very, very passive thing, which is annoying. You could have potentially nanoed here because, yes, he is going to come get you, and yes, you need the cart to last. You need the fight to last. This isn't a nano to win the fight. This is a... you need to nano to stabilize the fight because they're at cap territory, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what you're looking at here. Not a big deal. And I can see how this round is going, and I'm not too worried about it. You asked me before this started, hey, how do I deal with the Pharah? What do I do? You know, like, how do I hunt the Pharah better? This hasn't been a hunt the Pharah better issue. This really hasn't. What actually happened this round? Do you feel like, having rewatched it here, you have a feel for what happened? Like, let's think about third point, for example. How many team fights did we get on third point?
Realistically, just like kind of like one, maybe like 1.5.
Mm-hmm. Really, the enemy team, was this really an issue of like the enemy team was just like, how do I want to put this? Right. You guys got one, maybe 1.5 team fights. Your team kept walking into Pharah spam, and they kept walking into Pharah spam while they were down people, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right. So this wasn't really a like, oh, the Pharah's beating us. The Pharah's beating you, sure, but you guys are beating yourselves here. This isn't a case of like, how can I do this? You're never going to catch up on your team when your team is already low from Pharah spam by the time you show up, to the point of giving yourself a chance to take shots at the Pharah. So this isn't like, oh no, what do we do? How do I fight the how do I fight the Pharah type thing? You don't even have a chance to fight the Pharah because your whole team has decided that we're going to stagger into this. So the correct solution to this is to better group up the team, to make the call on comms if you're on comms of, group and spawn, or, stay cover. Like, we're giving the Pharah too many chances as a team to do damage before we're ready to fight. We're not respecting the reality that the Pharah is a poke character, and we're letting them poke us 6v4 before the fight starts, and then, of course, we're going to lose, right?
Right.
So I really wouldn't be too focused on this defensive round on like, oh no, I wasn't handling the Pharah well enough. That's not really what we're looking at here. You were never going to beat that Pharah in some of these situations unless you just outputted her, and the only way you were going to output her is if, she hits less shots and you hit more shots type thing. Like, yeah, there's a little more to it than that. Obviously, there's always more that we can do. But what this really gets into is we are looking to go, you're not supposed to be able to catch up on someone that's been shelling your team before you got there. You're not supposed to be able to catch up when your team just stands in the open. If we're trying to fight against Pharah, we sort of need to be cover, and then take the fight fast, right?
Right.
Okay. So I wouldn't worry about that one too much. Let's see if we can do a little better here.
Attackers.
I'm escorting the pace.
Escort the payload.
Get us home safe. Watching your back. Taking damage.
30 seconds remaining.
I'm ahead of the minion.
So we miss the sleep, and then we go for the nade. Oh, he walks in front of it. Okay, that was trying to be a little deeper.
Such is the life of an anime.
Well, that's why we use angles, right? Like, there's a reason that I don't tell you, oh, just nade through your team. There's a reason that we go, hey, oh, our team's pushing here. Let's scoot over here for a nade real quick. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Crusaders!
You're going to be okay.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Okay.
Moving to the
Go. I'll keep you. Go.
Interesting.
keep
I'm
you
not sure I
here.
stay on the fair when a McCree drops right in front of me like that, but
My
okay.
ultimate is ready.
Onward.
Okay, they're fighting for real. Okay, so you and your tanks are both on the card again, right?
Right.
So where do you actually want to be right now?
The wall again, or
The wall again.
maybe like if they're gonna be like coming out of the high ground, this is kind of like almost the same position we talked about before. Of like if they're gonna be fighting us on like almost the bridge
Mm-hmm.
or this bridge area, I guess the wall would be kind of effective, but I'm not sure if it turned into that or
Okay,
not.
I'm not sure it's going to turn into this because they sort of already had people here and some of them already dropped, including this Reinhardt. Your Doomfist was sort of able to come up here and push them off a little bit, so I'm not as sure it's going to be the same spot, but that's okay. I'd still live with this positioning. I'd probably be more likely to take like this positioning this time, but that's okay. Oh boy, oh boy. This is my least favorite thing ever. Okay.
I don't know. My thought process there was just like I really wanted to get like LOS on my Doom and like maybe like nano him, but
Sure.
then he just ults away. So
Yep,
I don't know.
I hear you.
I will keep you here.
You're just keeping your sightline on this window open way too long. Okay. What? 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 This is last fight, right?
Right.
So you have to nano diva here, right?
Yeah, I was just trying to like
I'm good with the sleep
Gauge,
attempt. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just trying to gauge like my options of like who's best in nano, and usually that would be either Doom, Pharah, or Reinhardt. But I tried the sleep attempt,
Sure.
and that didn't work out. And
So
I don't
now
know
you
what
have
happened
to
here.
nano diva, right? Because you missed the
that
sleep.
would be the next
Okay.
best thing. But I think I might try to nade here. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Healing enhanced.
Okay.
Take your medicine.
I'm still good with nanoing diva. Ooh! Well,
Well, that just might be me underestimating Nano Diva. Like when Ryan's alive.
yeah, nano diva with someone in her face, perfect. Nano diva when there's a tank in her face or when she's in a tank's face, she does a lot of damage. I would not underestimate that. It's not as good, generally speaking, as Nano Winston, who will cleave a bunch of stuff, or like if you have your way, a Nano Reinhardt swing. Yeah, that's great because you expect your Reinhardt to generally be in a position to take more damage, whereas your diva is generally going to be playing off angles and things like that. But if your diva is in something's face, totally fine as a nano target.
I just think I have like PTSD from like Diva always bombing after I nano her. so
Oh,
I'm just,
sure,
like,
sure.
yeah, I don't know.
3, 4.
Preferences, I guess.
Okay.
Ready. Ready for battle.
I can't wait to get into the fight. Ready, player one.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Get back in the fight. Get here. Get here.
Get them off me. Dein Schutzinnel ist down.
Enemy is back for more.
You're going to be okay. This will help. Get back in the fight. The pain.
Okay, like you can do this.
Lifting off.
Yeah, you find the spot. Okay.
The pain. I've seen you. You're going to live. My ultimate is fully charged. Get in there. I'm under attack.
Goes the angle on her. Goes the angle on her. Good.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Yeah. So we can adjust this if we want. You're here. You want for this. So be it. Sure, you're gonna scoot right.
You're going to live.
Oh no, they're pushing in. So they're pushing in again, and the momentum is against you in this team fight, right?
Right.
So if you go here, you're eventually gonna get stuck because the momentum is against you in this team fight. So we might need a little bit of an opening to do it, but we don't really want to go here. We actually have a greater preference to work our way this way because there's no good retreat from here. Like from here, we'd have to like retreat to here, or we'd have to go across. This sort of made sense if we were pretty sure our team was going to hold. If we were worried about the fight going further this way, our team winning, and then us wanting to slide up here or something. I don't expect that anymore. So I don't really want to go this way. I'd actually like to work my way more this way. It's not amazing, because it's like, hey, across the open to do it. But I bet they were paying attention to your echo during that focusing beam. And now your window is sort of closed for getting to a place where you can sustain this fight better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
My ultimate is fully charged. Get in there. I'm under attack.
And you can nade yourself, and then you have to look up for her. No, for the Pharaoh. For the Pharaoh? Okay, fine.
You're powered up. Get
Sure.
in there.
Unfortunate.
Sterben nicht. This is not your time.
Thank you, Angela.
Get behind me.
Fighting for 60 seconds remaining.
Don't worry, my friend.
Take your medicine.
Adjusting angle of attack.
You're going to
Sure.
heal up.
We're not going to stay here, right? Where are we going? Where are we going? Okay.
Rains from above.
Old soldiers are hard to kill.
The payload has 10 seconds
Don't give
remaining.
up. It's almost over.
Blocking.
Overtime.
Go. I keep you here. My
Onwards to
ultimate is
victory.
almost ready. You won't regret.
Oh boy.
Oh, deep. But I'm surprised the bomb got anyone actually.
Yeah? Yeah?
Will only
Okay.
hurt first.
You're right. Okay.
Get in there.
Hordes of Crusaders!
Okay.
Victory.
So the most important thing that we really talked about here was you've got to be thinking about, as the fight is happening, as the fight is evolving, where it's going to go and where you should be. And I made you go through some exercises in this battle, in this game, doing that. But you're really thinking about, okay, where's the battle going to be? where is the battle going to be? Oh, based on where their spawns are, where our spawns are, based on where they've positioned, it's going to be on top of bridge. It's going to be under bridge. It's going to be in the choke on third. It's going to be around this corner. You need to really always be thinking like that, especially between fights for like where the fight is really going to happen, or during the poke phase where the brawl is really going to happen. But you've also got to be thinking about during the fight, how is that flow going? Is your team getting pushed back, about to get pushed back, getting pushed forward, that sort of thing? As reading that determines where you could go. Do you feel like you have a better understanding of sort of reading some of these fights, or at least actively thinking where they're going to be? It maybe wasn't active because we did it in a review, but do you feel like you can look at these and go, wait, I can work that in. I see what we did here, and that's something that it's going to take some work. It's not going to be like free. It's going to distract you a little bit, but does that feel like something that you have a little better grasp on now?
Yeah, just being a lot more like aware of it, and kind of like just predicting from like where my teammates are, and kind of like where the enemy might be coming, like kind of like reading the
Hmm.
flow of like the fights and stuff, of like
Yep.
kind of like where need to be, like they're aggressive, need to start pushing back, and whether that's my team doing it as well, or not, like
Hmm.
that's just something I need to do,
Yep.
as especially as a support. Just keeping myself alive is a
Right.
priority, so
And we'd
making sure
also,
it's up.
you got it. You got it. And sort of like as a subcategory of 1A there, like get your butt off the cart when Ryan's on it. That's not like a 100% true thing. There's times when you triple push it, but again, you can tell when the fight is going to happen because you're predicting where it's going to happen, and that means by the time it happens, you should not be there, right? Especially because the cart becomes too likely of a place if your Ryan's on it, right?
uh right.
Okay.
um
Okay. So the second thing I want to get into is your nade usage. I do want to talk about that because you are just too willing at this point to use your nades to heal your teammates, whether it's McCree's, whether it's nades that are behind your tanks rather than in front of them, whether it's your Mercy, whatever. You're too willing to use your nades to heal your teammates when we really want those purples, or we really want to be doing it, teammates who are in the battle, or we're healing like a lot of people. There were a few AoE heal nades that I'm like, okay, it's healing, 2, 3, 4 people, whatever, I'm fine with it. Or it's healing 3 people, 2 of them are tanks, one of those tanks is brawling, fine, whatever. Those I'm fine with, but I'm talking these like, oh no, I'm just worried about my career. Oh no, my diva's behind my Rhine shield, but I'm gonna nade her so I can heal her faster type thing. I really want you to do less of that. I really want less of this nade healing stuff. Like nade healing has its place. Like I said, it can be, oh, I'm healing multiple people at once with it, and they all actually need the heals. It can be, I've got the impact on my Rhine, my diva, who are actually taking a lot of damage, who I need it to keep up with. Sure, those things are fine, but I'm seeing a lot outside of that. And you probably heard me grimace at quite a few of those. I called out a few. I didn't call out all of them, but I probably made I'm annoyed sound effects at most of them. Um, so I really would like to shift more of those to either to purple nades. We've talked about how to get purple nades with some of these angles, and it's okay if you end up stuck in defensive nade mode. We're like, hey, I'm having to defensive nade. It's not as good as getting some of the offensive ones off earlier in the fight, but if it would even be an improvement to move some of these nades over to I'm nading my tanks who are taking a lot of damage, or I'm group healing with these, that sort of thing would be better. I unfortunately think some of this is happening because you're struggling a bit mechanically, and I do want to clean that up a bit. So, what are you doing in terms of mechanics? Are you doing any aim training, any drills? Do you do any sort of warm up before you play? Do you feel like this was a normal mechanic game, a below average mechanic game for you? How do you feel about your aim in this game?
I feel like this was a pretty like average
Sure,
game for me. Like, not too like I wasn't like really like on point with my
sure,
aim
sure, sure.
as I am like on a better day. But yeah, this is probably just coming from like being kind of like newer to like PC gaming. I
Oh,
just
sure.
got into PC like a year ago, so um I just switched from console, so I'm getting used to changing my sensitivity and my DPI, and I've been going up and down trying to test what's like best for me.
Hmm.
So I got a lot of that going on.
Okay. Try to find something to settle on. I mean, you don't want to just be changing your sensitivity all the time. You want to find something that works, and for most people what works is going to be, hey, you go ahead and get your aim at least while unscoped to something where you can do a 180. You can do a 180. I'm going to recommend elbow aiming as it tends to be better for you in terms of how long your body lasts at doing it, not running into wrist problems. So generally, it's going to be elbow aiming for most people, and it's going to be a case of you want to be able to do a 180 on your mouse pad, which I hope is a large mouse pad, but that should be about what you can do on your mouse pad. It shouldn't be like, well, let me rephrase that. You need to be able to do a 180. You should have room to do a 180 and not too much more, because the more room you have beyond that, the more control you're gonna have. Now that's not going to be perfect for absolutely everyone. We've all got some stuff that we like. Sometimes that's going to just feel awful, etc. But you do have to be able to do a 180. But you certainly shouldn't be able to do like for most heroes a 360 or a 270 or anything on your pad. So how big is your mouse pad?
It's fairly large. It's like
Good.
a like card game layout, which is like it fits the entire keyboard and mouse
yeah.
together. But I can make more space for like my mouse. It's just I'm typically a wrist aimer, so
Okay.
that's kind of
Okay.
happens.
So again, like ultimately that's a you decision. I don't get to tell you what to do and that sort of thing. I will tell you that, in PC gaming, in this, there is sort of an understanding, this is more in the medical realm, and I am not your doctor, but there is an understanding that the wrist effectively will wear out faster than the elbow will with this kind of repetitive motion of mouse type stuff. But I'm not your doctor, so you can, do what you want in terms of better, consulting professional medical opinion there, anything along those lines. But you can generally get better precision too out of sort of the big sweeping movements. Allowing for smaller adjustments of the aim is going to let you be more precise. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, don't play with your sensitivity forever. Don't constantly be changing it. But most of the time it would be, hey, work yourself towards something that's probably lower than what you're used to. Like I recommend, I personally feel more comfortable with elbow aiming. Ultimately, you're going to have to try. Most PC gamers do eventually get over to elbow aiming, and probably the sooner the better for you. But ultimately, I'm not going to tell you go do this specifically. So you can go in there if you want. And what did you do for your scope sensitivity? Do you know your settings for that? Have you done the calibration to make it roughly 1-to-1? It's not exactly.
No, I didn't know that. Having a 1-to-1 ratio was really a thing. I just put to whatever I was more comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So you can pull it up on a thread if you do a search for Ana scope sensitivity. Most people will. I think it's been determined to be like 58 point something. I'm not going to pull it up because we'd have to go pull up a thread for it, but I'd recommend doing a quick search for that. That does tend to make it more comfortable. It's never going to be a perfect 1-to-1 because there's a field of view difference, but that tends to make it easier to go between scope and normal. That's usually more than I get into mechanics here, but really mechanics are what are going to unlock or are going to help. You need to fix the nade thing, and you can fix the nade thing without fixing the mechanics, but fixing the mechanics or helping fix the mechanics, helping get your mechanics on the right path, will make it easier to fix the nade thing in some ways, because some of these nades are panic nades. And they're also going to make it easier to challenge the Pharah, because you just can't win. So you can't win an out healing battle against the Pharah if you miss too many shots and never get a chance to shoot at her. You can't win if when you do get chances to shoot at her, you miss 2-3 shots in a row, right?
Right.
Right. And that's like not your fault. That's not me trying to aim shame you or anything like that. It's not like, oh my goodness, that's terrible, etc. It's just that sort of a Pharahs in some way get easier to handle as everyone's aim gets better, including yours, because you get to use a hit scan weapon, she's still using a projectile weapon, and while, both people get better at aiming, ultimately the hit scan weapon gets better at the aiming, if that makes any sense. Okay. So again, I don't want to put the too much focus on mechanics here, but I am going to say, let your big takeaway be, Let's put the focus on thinking about where the fight's going to happen, both between fights as well as fights are happening, the ebb and flow of the fight to understand, wait, are they going to push forward or are we going to push back to adjust our positioning? And then let's try to move those nades more towards those purples, more towards, okay, this is hitting people at least to not don't just need the heal, but are going to benefit from me healing them faster, not because they get into the fight faster, but because they actually have incoming damage on them continuing, right?
Uh, right.
Okay. So with that in mind, do you have questions on any of those topics? I'm happy to really go into anything Overwatch related. Obviously, we're a bit over time here, but if you have questions on any of that, I know I opened a few cans of worms there, so I'm happy to clarify more, help, go deeper on the understanding, whatever you need here.
Yeah, just the first thing that came to mind were like the healing nades.
Mm-hmm.
So like, would you say it's like not worth to like throw a nade at someone who's like 1 HP to kind of like guarantee save them from dying, or is it just like, would it be better just to live the fact that you didn't end up using nade, but your teammate ended up dying for it? Like, is that like?
Well, no, of course it's going to be better to spend the cooldown than to lose the teammate, but we're really, really trying to get rid of that crutch. So if you hit a situation, and you'll see this, where I would be perfectly fine if you did a nade cancel. If you did, hey, I have 12 shots in my clip, I spent all 12 shots, oh no, someone is low health and in the enemy's sight line, I am going to hit my partial reload and then nade to get the heal out faster, because I don't think there's time to wait for the reload to actually finish, and then I'll hit them with the follow-up shot after my reload. If you ever see me, I am perfectly fine with that nade. So by extension, it should be the same thing, that if someone is in the enemy sight line and you think they're going to get eliminated and you miss a shot, and before you can get another shot off, you go, nope, they need the heal before the next shot can get there, you throw your nade to fill in that gap that we talked about of, 0.8 seconds before the next shot can come in, and you go, I think this is necessary to save them. Of course, that should mathematically, in theory, all that, be correct, be good, etc. The problem that you run into is, how do I want to put this? Like, that is correct. The problem that you run into is that starts being a crutch for you miss shots, and that starts happening when people aren't in danger. Like when your D.Va is behind a Rein shield, when your Genji is sitting behind a wall looking at you, and you miss 3 shots in a row at him, and he's judging you and going, and you just panic and nade him type thing. Like, the reality is, yes, if you really feel like you're gonna lose someone, like you really actually feel like you're going to lose them, and it's like, shoot, I missed my shot, but they're taking damage, I need to hit this nade, or someone else just missed a shot too, but they're about to hit them, they're shooting at them, so the nade has to go down here. That's not really going to be an issue, but that's not actually what happens in a lot of these situations.
All right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. Anything else there?
Nothing currently really comes to mind. Like, I'm surprised this became like less of a pharmacy issue than I thought, because I thought it was gonna be kind of like mainstream, that like our team couldn't really deal with the pharmacy, but I guess that was more of like we could never like properly like regroup, and kind of like reading the flow of the fight became a lot more important to dealing with the Pharah, along with
Well, I mean, the other piece to the pharmacy is also going to be, don't walk into Pharah rockets. Like, if the Pharah is challenging you, you aren't going to start challenging her after she's challenging you. You're going to, like, when it comes to challenging her, you can challenge her when she's not challenging you, when she's challenging your team, or you can challenge her at the beginning of the fight. You're not going to challenge her when she's already shooting at you, unless she comes in and tries to, round a corner on you, etc. But don't walk into, when she's spamming you, don't walk into it. That would be the thing. The bigger thing when it comes to Fair, though, is going to be, you weren't going to turn these fights unless you could, unless you organized better for your team to not take a bunch of damage before they were ready, or you were able to go, hey, I can actually put more pressure on her, which you simply weren't going to be able to do because you were too far behind, either from the team is in there too early, or we're not hitting enough shots, Yeah, but that's fine. I really wouldn't worry about this far too much. I know it felt bad, like I totally get it. It feels bad, but it also feels bad when a Bastion takes you down, right? And that doesn't mean that there was, how do I want to put this? Like, I mean, yes, there's things you can do about both of those things, but sometimes if your team is just like, how do I want to put this? I wouldn't worry about that one too much. I mean, would you be like, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world, it's my fault that my team is losing to a Widow?
No.
Right. And Farah's maybe a little different because you feel like you can challenge her a little more directly, but you still really can't if your team is just too weak by the time that you're showing up, or your team is just standing in the open getting shelled too hard, right? Like you can only keep them up for so long. The game is balanced in a way that they, especially a mercy boosted fair, should be able to out damage you over time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other final questions, thoughts, concerns, things you want to get into?
No, I think that just about clears up everything with this VOD. Yeah, just about everything. Yeah, I will definitely put all those things into practice when I can, or not when I can, but like
All
maybe
good.
like one at a time.
There you go.
I don't know.
One at a time, preferably. Hopefully you do know. One at a time. Try to like focus, a little bit on it. Don't over focus with like half of your energy or anything like that. But one at a time with a little bit of your focus, trying to keep that in mind, trying to be thinking, oh wait, am I working on this? Am I doing it? Is it working? And again, I put more emphasis on that fight positioning because I know we've talked about it before, but it sounds like you had some trouble figuring out exactly how to implement it, and I hope we've really put that on rails and made it a little more clear.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to put all this into practice.
Perfect. Perfect. Good luck to you then, man.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it, Temporal.
No problem. No